Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, how are you? Back to my videos. Today, I'm going to reviewing one of my favorite novel. Also this video made under circumstances for my reading class assignment for Mrs. Desi class. So yeah, with any further ado, let's start reviewing. Pew. Hello. So let's begin. What is Act of Mercy is all about? The first chapter of the book tells us about the journey of Sam Delvecchio, a former FBI agent who now has been jobless because he has to stop working for the FBI because there are some traumatic events. So yeah, now he's looking for a new job, and there are some kind of like private investigative agency called Mercy Street Foundation. So what is Mercy Street Foundation? Mercy Street is a private investigative agency that been work for some cold case, which is a case that cannot be solved by the local police. So Mercy Street kind of like take over the case and then solving on their own way. So yeah, Sam got hired by the Mercy Street and got the first case. The first case is a mysterious murder of a man named Ross Walker, who has been died due to strangulations and multiple stab. But not only that, Ross' case becoming a cold case because there are some strange characteristic of the crime scene is so bizarre. And then yeah, Sam started to investigate the case. He went to Lincoln, Nebraska, which is a place where he go to college. So yeah, he feels like a little bit of flashback there. Sam's feel a little bit confused over the case at the first, but he starts to think that he got some connection, right? Since he was a former agent of FBI, he got helps from FBI, and turns out FBI has found two other cases that been matched and somehow connected by Ross Walker case. Due to the match and the connection, Sam has to work again with the FBI, but this time he has to work with his colleague Fiona Summers. Yeah, Fiona is really a charming character. I really loved her. She's amazing. Sam investigation process, start to get a help from the FBI, and then they discover new fact that Ross' case and the two other cases is somehow connected by the characteristic of how the killer posed for the victims. So Ross Walker, like I say, he got posed like some kind of crucifixion, and then there was a food on his mouth. And then the second victim, Joseph Maynard, is in a tram surrounded by cupboard shelters. So it looks like he was a homeless, even though that he was a rich man. So yeah, that's the second murder. The third victim is Calvin Adams. Just like Ross, he has something on his mouth, but it's not food. It's a water bottle. The water bottle was stuffed on his mouth, so it looks so painful, I think. Yeah, anyway, Fiona found that the case now declared as a serial murder case. The crime scene is look like a Catholic Church corporal methods, which is called acts of mercy, but in a dark way. The killer make it the dark version of acts of mercy. And what is acts of mercy to be exact. So acts of mercy is a practice or an act of penance on Christians charity on the Catholic Church. So there are 7 acts of mercy. The first one is feed the hungry, which is just like Ross Walker crime scene. The second one is offer drink to the thirsty, which is like the third victims, Calvin Adams. And the third one is, provide protection for traveler or homeless, like the second victim, Joseph Maynard. So the other 4 is minister to prisoner, clothe the naked, heal the sick, and bury the dead. So there are 7 acts of mercy, but so far there are only 3 crime scenes. Sam also realized, that the places of every crime scene that the victim has been found is correlate with Sam. Like first victim Ross was found in Lincoln, Nebraska. Like I said, Sam went to college there in Lincoln, Nebraska. And then the second victim, Joseph Maynard, was found in Kendall, Illinois. Sam's in-law lives there, and his late wife, Carly, was buried there. The third victim, Calvin Adam, was found in Dayton, Nebraska. Sam went high school there. So yeah, somehow Sam thinks that this murder has connection with me, like are the killer after me? Fiona disagree about it until the fifth victim is Kenneth Wilk, who was found dead in Sanderson, Virginia. Once again, correlate with Sam. Sam used to live in Sanderson with his late wife Carly, and Sanderson was actually where Carly was murdered. Kenneth Wilkes' body was dressed in all black like a priest, holding a Bible, and propped against the chain. There are manual strangulation as cause of death like the previous victim. Sam started to feel this case became even more personal, so his former boss tells Sam that it is okay if you want to give up the case, just let Fiona and FBI take over. But Sam is a persistent person, and he believed that he can catch the killer while he found his own closure. The question now is why every place and date of a murder was related to his life. And then it got explained on the next chapter. The 5th act of mercy happened, which is heal the sick. So the victim is Jerry Perillo, who was found in parking garage of County Memorial Hospital. The fact that that hospital is a hospital when Sam lost his younger sister Eileen. Again, another case, another connection with his life. Things got a bit bizarre now. Before we went to the next case, the books also tells us some kind of like flashback about Sam's life, where he lost his younger sister Eileen. It was pretty painful memories, and I think this is one of the plot. I think, yeah, by this flashback you can tell like, oh my god, this is the murder. Like there are 2 acts of mercy left, which is clothe the naked and bury the dead. Sam was kind of like really sure that bury the dead was meant for Sam. Sam and Fiona, with the help of the FBI, went to Sam's hometown in Beckstone, Nebraska. Sam is pretty much believed that the killer is after his family now. As Sam tried to keep all his family safe, turns out the 6th murder happened, and this time even being more convenient that the killer is Sam's closest person. The 6th victim is Drew Novak, which is Sam's friends since they were 4 years old. Like imagine your childhood friends getting killed. Drew was found naked in front of the clothing store in Parade Avenue which is this staged as the 6 acts of mercy, clothed the naked. On the day of Drew's funeral, Sam believed the killer might also come to the church, right? And since they were in the same place after all, to finish the last mission, which is called out for Sam. As before the funeral went so sacred, Sam's find out who the killer is. That it was turns out he's another childhood friend. Yeah, the killer is one of Sam's friends named Steve Molino. Steve is also Sam's best friend. The three of them was so close when they were kids, but turns out there's some kind of accident. The accident that I said on the flashback part, that what makes Steve was hold such anger for Sam. That's why he kills all of those poor men just for Sam's attention. Let me cut up to the final act. Sam arrived at the lake outside Blackstone, which is the important place or the key parts of the story. He knows that Steve was there. So yeah, the key part was on the flashback part. It's shown where Steve Molino lost his sister during the winter time, when the three girls, Sam's sister Eileen, Drew's sister Cara, and Steve's sister Tish was drowning at the lake. They were drowning, but there are only two that been saved, which is Eileen and Cara. So when Steve lost his little sister a long time ago at the lake, Steve was blaming Sam because Sam couldn't save his sister. Steve thinks that Sam was not trying hard enough to save Tish. Sam told Steve that the moment they flying across the ice where the girls had fallen, the ice was too thin to hold all of them, so the ice was began to crack, so they had to make a human chain to save them. But since Tish was the only one who had been drawn too far under the ice, her life couldn't be saved. Steve told Sam that how hard life was for him since the tragedy. His parents blamed him, and then they divorced, and then he has to go move out of the town with his mom. And Steve told that nothing has ever right in his life after that. Steve blindly following what the Bible say, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, a life for a life. Steve also added that a sister for a sister. And then Sam was kind of in shock by his confession. Turns out it was Steve who ran over Eileen on the night where Eileen was died. So yeah, Steve killed Eileen, and Steve also killed his wife, Carly. It's so dark. And then Sam was froze, by all the fact. How could you even respond to it? Imagine the horror, the traumatic feelings. He froze in time. He couldn't even move his finger. So yeah, Steve was aiming a gun to Sam, ready to pull the trigger, but Sam got saved by one of his partner, one of the agent from the FBI. So yeah, that's how it's ended. Sam's got his closure. This kind of novel always give me a goosebumps. It's really interesting because the novel gives me a moral story where I have to be critical thinking in some circumstances and observe and even being conscientious, always aware around things like that. So yeah, I would like to recommend you this novel. It is definitely a great and thrilling book that worth of your time of read and spend your time on a late afternoon coffee. So yeah, go ahead, read the book. It's Act of Mercy by Mariah Stewart. So yeah, thanks. That's all for me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. Never stop reads, people. It is fun. Bye.
Yeah. 뱉는 순간 heartbeat bum bum bum. Cool kick down kick on the drum drum.